What up, what up, what up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one. This one is the rankings for RTL. All right. This one is for the men. All right. Now, let me say this. This is from a male perspective. This is not about who is the coolest, who got the coolest walk, who got the most money. This ain't about none of that. This is about who I would consider husband material. Okay, the guys that will be closest to husband material. Why? Because I was a husband. I know what it takes to be a husband. Somebody who's really ready to be a husband. So, and ladies, if you have your own list, and if you think I'm off on something, just put it in the comments. I would love to see your list, your rankings of the guys. Let's make it fun, all right? And by the way, go ahead, hit the like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Without further ado, let's go in. At number 10 is Will. All right. Now, yes, Will is number 10. And for obvious reasons, right? I mean, the guy was not really accepted by the ladies. He was in both mixers. How you gonna be in both mixers and still be the last dude selected in both mixers? I don't think he's a bad guy, right? But the women have spoken. The women have spoken, and they say that Will is not that dude. Now, if I'm being honest, he kind of, to me, I kind of seen what some of the ladies were saying. It seemed like he would kind of give off a little creepy vibes. His jokes were, he laughed at his own jokes, and I don't know. It was just cornball mixed with creepy, but he's still a good dude though. You know what I mean? It's just gonna take a special kind of woman for Will to really it's just gonna take a special kind of woman. Now, in my opinion, he might be more ready for the palm colored women out there. You know what I mean? The translucent. He might be more suited for one of those ladies because his personality it seemed like it fits in that culture a little bit better, because the sisters are going to think he's corny. It's just is what it is. It's just how the community is. And when sisters sense just a little bit of corniness, they dry real quick. It just dries up. So, still a good dude. Shout out to Will. And let me say this also too. Anybody who wants to come on my show, you're more than welcome. I would love to talk to each and every one of y'all. Hit me in the email, blackmanrankings@gmail.com. I would love to talk to all of you. The men, the women, everybody is welcome on this show. That being said, I got Will at number 10. At number 9 is Wayne. All right. Now, Wayne, this guy, he seemed a little too cool for school. You know what I mean? He seemed like he didn't really want to put in the effort to get to know the ladies. He was always, fumbling around. He didn't really pick nobody. He didn't really make no connections. The women, and one, I could tell you this right now. One thing women don't like to do is so-called chase a man, right? So maybe he wasn't done playing, which would indicate that he's not ready to love. So, he was just a little too cool for school. I don't know if the problem was he wasn't really attracted to none of the ladies. It was some nice looking chicks on this season. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's the problem, but he seemed a little lazy. And when you dating, you actively dating, especially in a competitive date on a competitive show, dating show, you got to put your best foot forward. You know what I mean? And he was just like, it's just another day. I got this other. He probably got other chicks though. I ain't gonna hold you. He probably got other chicks that he maybe smashing in the background that he don't need to show. You know what I mean? Because he didn't have any urgency at all. So he probably got him a chick somewhere in the weeds sitting back, and he probably messing with her and probably didn't have enough time to manage her and the show. So, but he didn't seem like a bad guy, but I still got him at number 9 with Wayne. At number 8 is Eddie. All right. Now, the reason why I have Eddie, I know ladies, y'all, you like the little curly hair, you like the beard, you like the height, all this. I get that. I get that. Shout out to Eddie. But, you know, Eddie seems like he's a little, I don't know how else to say. I mean, I'm not attacking the guy or nothing, but he just seems like he's not the sharp knife in the drawer. You know what I mean? He do rely heavily on alcohol too, and that is a bit of a red flag for anybody. It could be a woman, it could be a guy. When you have to drink all the time just to relax, that's a problem. You know what I mean? I remember watching the Never Ever Mets, and it was a big girl who was on there. I forgot her name, but she drunk a lot, and her dude was like, "You just drinking too much." You know what I mean? And it was a big sticking point in their relationship. Well, with Eddie, it could be a sticking point too. You don't want to, as a woman, you don't want to have to come home to a drunk. You don't know how his mood's gonna be. You don't know how he is. It's never a good time. It's never good to have any kind of addiction, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's gambling. I don't care if it's intimacy. I don't care if it's a lot of other stuff. Alcohol. It could be a lot of stuff. Any addiction can be detrimental to a relationship. Why? Because more than likely you're going to put more effort into your addiction than you are your relationship. And then everything is going to take a second place to your addiction. And that is not fair to the person that you're in a relationship with. Not to mention if you have kids or you have other things, your job, your work, everything, like, it's not going to work. Addictive personalities is not the way to go. I'm not claiming that the brother is, for the record. I'm not claiming that he is an alcoholic. Okay, I'm just saying it was a little too much for the ladies to deal with, and understandably so. If I'm being real, I can understand why they kind of shied away from him a little bit. I mean, he started to get a little motion with Cooley or Coley, but a lot of it was even just not. It just didn't work out for a lot of reasons. And then I seen him in a reunion, and he is all, oh, you could do this. He's trying to flirt with the ladies. He giving all the ladies all of these accolades and everything. Oh yeah, she this, that, she, he didn't hold Angie accountable. Oh, she could still get it. This, that, and like, relax, dude. Like, what's his name? Cam. He was like, man, come on, man. Okay, you up here sucking up to all of the women on the stand. Anyway, uh, cool dude, cool enough dude, but I just think that his, his, I don't want to say love affair with alcohol, but his thing with alcohol was a sticking point, and plus he seemed to make some questionable decisions to me. So, um, you know, shout out to Eddie. Like I said, still a good guy, but you gotta put the alcohol down first, and then start making better decisions, bro. Um, at number 7 is Fritz. All right. And I got Fritz at number 7 because I think the dude is not a bad dude, and from what I understand, he's talking to Shanice now. I would have never picked them to be a couple, but apparently they are, and I'm sure they are very acquainted with each other. So, in other words, they probably bumped uglies. So, but at the same time, he was making some questionable decisions too. He was conspiring to get what's her name out, Sahara. He was being a little backstabbish, sneaky a little bit, and the ladies didn't really like that. And he made some questionable decisions, and even he will admit that. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he would admit that because I think he mentioned something about that in the reunion. But cool guy and all, I don't think it's a knock for a guy to look at or explore the poly lifestyle, especially in this Western culture that we're living in. I'm gonna tell y'all, AI is gonna come after us, and we're gonna have to start thinking outside the box for real. So, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at some of the other things that he did, but it was a little, he was a little sticky, a little shady. You know what I mean? Firing and everything, but not, like I said, not a bad dude, but I can understand why the ladies was like, we're gonna let you figure it out off the show, and they let him go. But I got Fritz at 7. At number 6 is Naeem. All right. Now, Naeem is a good dude. I think he, psychologically is sound. I think he understands the psychology of women. That's another thing with Fritz. I don't think he really understood the psychology of women that much. He's no slouch though. But Naeem, he's a smart guy. He understands the psychology of women. You can't have 5 kids and you don't understand women. Okay, you got to know something. So, I think his biggest knock is the fact that he has the 5 kids. If he didn't have the 5 kids, he'd be higher on the list. And I think the women, it's a tall ask for anybody to say except me and my Tribe Called Quest. Okay, like the whole NWA. You need to accept all of us and have everybody in your life, right? That's a hard ask. And women do it, but they don't understand what the problem is. Okay, yeah, I got 5 kids. So what? I'm still a good woman. Come on now. I'm not saying that you're not, but you're going to get the same reaction that Naeem got. Okay, what's fair is fair, right? It can't just be like that with the men. It's like that with women too. But that was really the only issue I seen with Naeem is that the fact that he has the 5 kids. They are a part of his life. I didn't see any behavioral issues. I didn't see any bad habits. I didn't see him not being intentional. I seen him going after and treating it the process you know, authentically. You know, he was after Tay for a minute and a couple of others, you know, but I think he's a good dude. He just got kids, and you know, a lot would depend on how old they are. I don't know their ages. He looked like he's 42, so maybe some of his kids is grown. You know what I mean? You got to take that into account. If some of them is grown, like let me say this also, it's different with men than it is with women. Okay, and yes, this is a double standard, but it's just is what it is. It's the mother nature double standard, right? A guy with 5 kids is probably not gonna have all the kids living with him, right? But the woman with 5 kids probably gonna have all the kids living with her, right? For a man, for a woman, she don't have to live a day to day with that man and his 5 kids unless he is a single father, which is sometimes the case, but not always. But if you're a man living with a woman, you're probably gonna have to deal with all 5 of Bebe and her kids. For real. You're gonna have to deal with that. And it's more likely than not. For men, it's more not than likely that he has the kids. So it's different. It's a double standard, but this is a mother nature thing. Can't nobody do nothing about that. So when women judge men, I get it, but at the same time, it's not the same. It's not the same. So I still think and plus he's 42. His kids is probably grown. Some of them are probably grown, to be honest. And why would you even worry about them? Why would that even be a sticking point? Unless he got some young kids, right? And then that can be, and if he has custody of them and he's a single father, I can see that being a thing. You know what I mean? But a man having kids, you know, another factor in that I think women look at is that you got 5 kids, you ain't got no money. That's just how a lot of women think. If you got 5 kids and you can not possibly have enough money for me. And that's probably the main turnoff for most women when with a guy with a lot of kids. But I got Naeem at 6. At 5, I got Khalil. All right. I think the guy is a cool dude. Khalil is a guy I like to kick it with. I think he's a fun guy. He seemed like he's easygoing, easy to talk to. I don't see no bad habits or anything. The only issue I have with Khalil is he got mesmerized by the booty. Okay? It happens. It happens. I ain't mad at you. You know what I mean? But he got mesmerized by the book. He didn't pick his women well. Like he started out good with, some interest in, who was it? Rose he was interested in. Or Angie, it was one of them. But he was but he kind of bowed out when he seen that they were checking for somebody else. So he kind of bowed out and he focused all his energy on Deanna. And listen, she stacked. I ain't no man gonna be mad at you for that. She stacked. But you had to see some of the red flags, bro. You had to see some. You had to. But he still tried to get with her, even though she really gave him no energy. She just she just she just didn't give him no energy. And I'm like, why are you on a hot pursuit with her? I can kind of understand because she was by herself and he was by himself for the most part, and he figured, look, why don't we just connect and try to make it work? You know what I mean? And she was, I talk about the women in another video, but needless to say, he was choosing the wrong women. It started to make me feel like he was just mesmerized by the booty. Okay, it happens. Sometimes men get so caught up in the physical appearance of a woman that, look, everybody has a type that make them just ignore red flags. Okay, and apparently Deanna had the type that made Khalil just completely ignore red flags. It's understandable, but it's not really acceptable. You should never get mesmerized like that, especially at y'all age. You should have seen it all by now. You know what I mean? But and he don't want to have kids right away. So for a lot of women, that will be a turn off, especially if they're trying to, procreate, have some kids. The number one reason to have a relationship at all is really to have kids, or I should say, a marriage is to have kids. If kids ain't part of the marriage plans, especially when you're young and you don't have kids, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? If you're like a divorcee or whatever, your second or third or fourth marriage or whatever, and kids are not part of it, I get it. But your first one, I always say your first love, your first marriage should be with your people, and it should be for kids. In other words, our community, we should have, our first marriage should be with each other. After the divorce, if there's a divorce, I ain't gonna hold you if you date outside, if you date, old, young, whatever. I'm not gonna hold you much because life is too short. Find your happiness at that point. Like I said, my thing is, if you get to 40, or about 38, 40, I'm not gonna hold you whatever you do. All right. But I want your first family, your first, to be with your people, and you raise your kids, and whatever that takes, you owe it to the community to do that. And why not? Because you should love your own people. Everybody else do, we do too. So love your own people. Your first marriage should be with your people. All that being said, I think he's a good guy. I just think that he got to brush up on his picking up red flags. I think he got kind of not get mesmerized by the booty a little bit, and he'll be all right. But chicks are gonna flood his DMs, so I ain't worried about Khalil. He'll be all right. I got Khalil at 5. At number 4, I got Hussein. All right. Hussein is a good dude. He's a good dude. He tried to do the right things. You know what I mean? I could see his effort in trying to keep it respectful. I see he didn't want to insult Angie, because he like, look, how's it gonna look for me to choose you and you my second choice? Like, I thought that was respectful. I thought that I agreed a little bit with Angie when she said it was a little bit of the easy way out. I get that too when she said that in the reunion. But I think both of their hearts were broken. I think both Rose's heart was broken. I think Hussein's heart was broken when they broke up. And I think that's why she was so passionate at the reunion. But it doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He tried to do things the right way. And she said, you know, he was locked up himself, and how is he going? It's just some of the decision making was a little questionable. I ain't gonna hold you. It was a little questionable with Hussein. I get where he was coming from. He didn't do anything necessarily disrespectful, but it's hard being a black man. And the reason I say that is because don't nobody like any decision. When we make decisions for ourselves, nobody in the world likes it. Our kids, our spouse, our parent, nobody. Society. When we make decisions for ourselves, we're the only people who on the planet who not allowed to make decisions for themselves. That's what it feel like. Because we get the blues every time we got a decision to make. And it ain't the decision. Like if other people made the decision, if other women made that decision, nobody would say a word. How those same words come out of a woman's mouth that came out of Hussein's mouth, and you will see a totally different reaction. Okay, it's just it's almost as if people cannot take us making our decisions. Like we're not like. It's almost like everybody want to treat us like a boy. No, we grown ass men out here. We making decisions based on our happiness. Why? Because we got to care for us. And we're not going to take no deal just because it's on the table. We have a right of refusal. And, you know, so I don't want to get on his case too much, because look, he's entitled to make his decision. If a sister said, "Nah, you just not my speed," who gonna argue with her? Nobody. But when a man say that, I ain't down for that. Oh, everybody got all the problems. Why you do this? Why you do it? Then we got a million and one questions to answer. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. So I still think he's a good dude, though. You know what I mean? Could it have been handled a little better? Possibly. You know what I mean? I think he should have talked to her more, you know, about her baby daddy in jail. Have this conversation first, man. Don't throw her out with the baby out with the bathwater just because she said that. You know what I mean? That's how relationships last, with communication. You know what I mean? If I had a knock on Hussein, that's what it would be. He kind of, it's okay to make decisions, but at least get a full understanding of the situation first, right? Talk to her, see what her relationship is. When is this guy getting out? Do he know y'all not together no more? Okay, is he gonna come home and put his name on the orange juice and put his feet up on the couch? Okay, is it gonna be a baby boy situation where Snoop coming back home? I need to know, okay? Because I got to know what I'm getting myself into, okay? For real. I ain't trying to be Jody or whatever, Josie, whatever his name was, and baby boy, Tyrese. I ain't trying to be Tyrese. And I got to sit up here and deal with Snoop Dogg, and he throwing up all kind of signs, you know, because he affiliated. Nah, I don't want them problems. I get it, but he didn't talk to her about it. That's what I would have done. I would have talked to her. I would have got the answers to some of my questions and some of my concerns before I made the final decision. But still a good dude, though. I approve of how he moved. I just wish he would have processed a little bit more and dug a little deeper. That's the only thing with Hussein. Shout out to Hussein. At number 3, I do got Cam. All right. And I think Cam, I vibrate with Cam on a lot of the way that he moves. Cam was no dummy. He was no dummy in this, and he was no simp, and he moved accordingly. Okay. I could probably predict the words that's coming out of Cam's mouth before he even say them. Cause we on the same page. You know what I mean? So does that mean I would have been number 3 on the list? Probably I would have been number 3 on my own damn list because I vibrate with Cam. But Cam, and apparently I guess he's into the poly thing too. And he said, "Look, listen, I don't want to sneak around anymore. I just want to have my family, and that means more than one woman. So there is no issue, there's no conflict. Everybody gets along, and we can do the darn thing." I wouldn't. I now one thing me and Cam don't move similar on is I wouldn't have been trying to get at Sahara. No. I kind of knew what kind of chick she was, and I'm not gonna talk too much about her. I'm gonna save that for the ladies video, but it was not a surprise to me at all how things ended at the altar or decision. It didn't surprise me at all. He should. Now I did admit that Sahara grew on me as the season. I was surprised she lasted that long. To be honest, I was surprised she lasted that long. But so I just think that some of his decision making wasn't on point. I think he would probably chose her just so that they could have the happy ending at the end. But if I'm being honest, I don't really feel like Cam really was vibrating with none of the ladies on the show, for real. Because we're tapped into the same frequency, so I know that he probably he just wanted the happy ending. So he chose her, and he thought that the happy ending would be a little easier with her. With Angie is a wild card, so I can understand why he didn't choose her. I can understand why he didn't choose Rose, because he was Rose second. Rose didn't really, in an effort to really cement anything with them. But still a good dude. He was his perception of things was sharp. His perception of things was sharp. Just a little touchy in the decision making, and by choosing Sahara. But again, I get that move too. But that was the only thing. But shout out to Cam. I still think he will make a good husband. He just need more than one of y'all. Okay, you're gonna have to come with your girlfriends, and then we can do the whole thing. But that it is what it is. At number 2 is your boy Jay. All right. And listen, Jay is a good dude. Now this is the part when I start to talk about what makes a good husband. Okay. What makes a good husband, and this is no shade to anybody, not to Jay, not to anybody. This is no shade, right? In order to be a good husband, and I know because I've seen this myself, in order to be a good husband to a woman in the West, in America, you have to have a touch of simp in you, okay? Just to keep the peace. Just to keep the peace with your woman. Because women in this country think that they run the household. They just do. Don't let them make more money than you. They really gonna think they run the household thing, okay? But in the West, you're dealing with women who don't really respect men. they not to the level that the rest of the world do. Women don't value men much in the West. It just is what it is. They independent women. They could do it all by themselves. All they need is their girlfriend. All they need is their toy. All they need is their own money, their career, and they living high on the hog. They good. They don't need a man. Okay? Even if they got a baby by him, they still don't need him. And this is just the harsh truth, right? But what I noticed in Jay is that Tierra kind of was training him like he a golden retriever or something. You know what I mean? And he accepted it. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by now they still together as far as we know. And it's because he simped a little bit for her for the sake of the relationship. The problem with that is women start to think that they're more valuable than you if you keep letting them run the table on you all the time. They start thinking that they're better than you. They're more valuable than you. And that's when the disrespect starts to come in. Okay? So men have to be careful with that. Don't let a woman train you like Kiera did. But in order to keep the peace, you got to be almost all of the good husbands in our community especially got a little bit of simp in them. I know married men, and I know the ones that last the longest are some of the biggest simps I've ever seen in my life, for real. And you know, they still married. You can't knock it. It's just some men aren't really built for that, and some men are. And Jay showed me that he got a little bit of that in him. And if he's okay with it, that's fine. But I'm talking about husband material. That's why I think he's a little closer to husband material. He could probably work on some of his other stuff, his romance. I know he got wandering eyes too, and sometimes he might be looking at other women and, you know, checking them out and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, he got enough. He probably learned his lesson. She probably trained him well enough to now he ain't gonna even risk it anymore. So again, a good dude. Shout out to Jay. But you know, I don't want to keep saying it, but he let's just say he's a lot more accommodating to his woman, which helps men in the West have a relationship with women in the West, because they're not as it's harder to sustain. It's harder to even get a good fair deal in the West for a lot of men, for real. I've dated here in the West, obviously, been married, and I've dated abroad too. I've dated women outside of the country. I know it's different. There is a difference. I'm not talking from not having experience. I know it's different. How I'm treated here and how I'm treated over there, night and day. Literally night and day. So, shout out to Jay. I got Jay at number 2. And yes, at number 1 is your boy Cisco. Now I know, ladies, you're not gonna have Cisco at number 1. Why? Because his career is not up to par. He's not on your level. I know, I get all of that. But I never seen a guy dote over a woman so much. I never seen a guy show so much respect to Tay. I never seen a guy only have eyes for her since day one. I never seen a guy who is willing to please his woman as much as Cisco. You know, he gave her a nice massage and stuff, the hug at the pool, or, you know, when they were at the house. I could tell he will make a good husband. I could tell he'll listen to Tay. Any good husband is going to have a little bit of simp in them. Okay? And yeah, Cisco got it too. Probably even more so than Jay. Okay? Ain't nothing wrong with that, but you got to watch out, because women stop respecting you if they know that you got some simp in you. I don't know what it is. It's a trigger in women's brain. When they think that they got you, they lean in on that stuff. They lean in on it. You know what I mean? But if you a guy who can take it, then it's no problems. It's no worries. You know what I mean? You will see a real calm demeanor man married to a woman who is a sailor in the mouth. I mean, just cursing this, that, and the third. And what do you think the whole saying? You know, what's the saying? The saying is happy wife, happy life. Or yeah, happy wife, happy life. Where do you think that saying come from? Come from a string of guys who were married, who just to keep peace, being with a woman in the West, they just said, look, I'm just gonna simp it out. Happy wife, happy life. I hate that saying, by the way. It should be happy spouse, happy house. And it is happy spouse, happy house. But women think it's happy wife, happy life now. And they lean into it. Men made it up and women took that and they said, yeah, all y'all simps, line up. All y'all should be thinking like this. I'm telling you, it's cutthroat. When women know they got an advantage, they stop respecting the man. They just do. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments. If like, I know what I'm talking about, okay? I don't just talk, I live this stuff. I already know. I've already seen it, okay? So there you have it. I got Cisco at number 1. This is husband material. Never mind the career. Build with him. He could get there, just like Tommy said, right? Build with him. I got Jay at number 2. I got Cam at number 3. Hussein at number 4. Khalil 5. Naeem 6. Fritz 7. Eddie 8. Wayne 9. And Will 10. Let me know what y'all think. Put it in the comments. I really appreciate you joining me. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. I will catch y'all in the next one.